Bonjour. Okay, so this how-to video is guiding you through how to really access our French online textbook and all the different features that you could find on there. Now, obviously, when I log in, I'm logging in as a teacher, so you have to be aware that there are some slight differences between what I can see and what you can see, but I will guide you through as much as possible, and then you can kind of play around with it a little bit. Okay, so first thing is when you click on a link to our textbook, you have to put in your school username, which is your entire email address, not your number. It will only work with your email address. Then put in your password and log in. If it doesn't work, you need to let me know. Okay, it'll take you to the desktop, which will look something like this. You should see up here in your resources, BND, and then the textbook level that you are. For this video, I'm going to guide through level 1, but I also have access to level 2 and level 3, and you will have access to whatever level you are at, French 1, 2, or 3. I also can see a lot of other resources, but you should only really be able to see your one textbook. So when you click on that link, it will take you to the online textbook. It'll probably first time take you to the beginning, to the front. And then after that, mine tends to recognize whatever last page I was on, which is really useful for you as we progress through the textbook. But if you need to get to a page, up here at the top where it says go to page, I will tell you the page number for the lesson, so you can type that in. Probably should have planned this, but let's see what's on page 80. Oh, okay. Nice. So the other way that you can do it is if I tell you which chapter we're going to. So we have chapitre 1, 2, all the way through. All of your textbooks look like this, and you can go through to the chapter. And then if I say we're doing vocabulaire 1, you can go straight to vocabulaire 1, grammaire, application. So you can look around the textbook if you want to, or just do whatever I tell you for that lesson that day. So when you are on the page that you need to be on, you can have a look down here. There are different things that you can do. Like if you want to change the page view, make it bigger. I tend to like putting it on this first one here where you scroll, but sometimes the scrolling can get funky. But anyway, you have a lot of vocabulary to start with. When you click on it, it has a glossary. You can also listen, and it will tell you, it will pronounce it for you. So that's really useful. Up on the top, I will ask you to watch the tele vocab. Even if I don't ask you, go ahead, click on it, play around with it. The nice thing with these textbooks is that they are interactive. So you can play these videos, and they're usually around a minute and a half. As you can see, they're very dated. This is why I don't traditionally use the textbook, but during this time of remote learning, and if I go for maternity leave, this could be very useful. Okay, so some nice features. You can always click around. There are other things that I might ask you to do. I might ask you to click on the button which says online practice, vocabulary and practice. Okay, so you should look, and as you kind of hover over, you see that your cursor changes. And if you click on it right here, it takes you to what we traditionally would have done in a workbook, but now it's an online workbook. So even better, you can click through, and based on what you've just been learning on this page, so you can click back and forth, you can answer the questions here and check. So I'll either say check or submit, depending on if it's a practice or if it's a like a quiz or whatever. So check out all of these things. You see at any time that your mouse hovers over it will read it to you. Now, this is fantastic because if we were in a classroom, I would be reading this to you. Actually, we wouldn't even be following it word for word in a textbook, but sometimes we might do that, or we would be using it in a classroom. So please don't just copy stuff down or just read it or whatever, but listen to it as well. That will really help you to connect with the language. Some other things that you can see as I hover over, there is an online workbook. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scroll that much. There's an online workbook which you can't access through this, or maybe you can, I can't. So it's worth having a look and seeing whether you can connect straight to the online workbook through this link here. There's also something right here which says vocabulaire supplémentaire, so additional or supplementary vocabulary. This is not on this stuff from this page, this is additional. And all of the textbooks have this. There's huge vocabulary lists. This does not interest everybody, I know that, but it could be something that you go over and look on a study day. You might want a little bit more if you just want to go further. This is just too basic for you. Then when you click on it, it'll take you to actually all of the supplementary vocabulary for the whole book. So you can either just scroll along and look at the categories, or you can be more specific and be like, okay, we were looking at, I don't even remember what it said it was, les mots descriptifs. Les mots descriptifs, okay, right here. So if you click on that, it takes you straight down to some more describing words. So we didn't cover things like freckles when we last talked about, I don't think in any class we've ever talked about freckles, but there you go, sage. No, des taches de rousseur. It's like sage, that's not it. Des taches de rousseur, so it's a little bit off actually. Travailleur, têtu, des taches de rousseur. So again, you can do this if you want to. I'm rarely going to ever ask you to click on that, but that's what that is. Okay, next thing in the textbooks is there are questions that we would usually go through in class, but since we're doing a lot of remote learning, I might ask you to do this at home. And if I say do question 1, 2, 3, whatever, the questions look a little bit different, but they all have interactive ability. So if you click on the Q, it pulls up that same question and it asks you that same question, but you can check on your answer and then submit. And when you submit that, you should be able to see your responses, and I should be able to see your responses because you've logged in. So it's really important that you do it for that grade, for that formative assessment, for participation. Even if you get like the answers right or wrong, it doesn't matter, but it just shows that you've been, you did the work. Because we're in a level 1 textbook right now, this is in English to explain what you need to do. As you progress through French 2 and 3, all of these directions are even in French, so you have to pay attention to what it's asking you. But usually the questions are like multiple choice, gap fill. It's fairly clear, and they are always about the vocabulary or the grammar that is just in that part of the chapter. Okay, that's just happened. So for numéro 2, écoutant, these ones wherever you see the little symbol here, you can click on and it will read the question to you. And again, you can answer here. And so it has the audio and the answer. But since it's about the picture, you might want to, you need to have the picture up to be able to answer the question properly. Okay? So play around with it. I'm not saying it's perfect. Okay, keep going. So again, we've got questions with gap fills right here, questions where you would write your answer. So let's have a look at one where you'd write your answer. So after you type in your answer, it also has this little box here to add your accents for French. Okay, and then the second part, I'm not going to go through this whole entire chapter, but I just want to show you where all of these things are that I'll probably point out. So the other part of the book is also grammar, and you have a DVD grammar vision. So anytime that I ask you to watch that, click on it. These are again around a minute or two long, and it takes you through that grammar point in a more interactive way. Again, you've got online workbooks that I might get you to do activities. Answering questions. Oh, one thing I haven't drawn your attention to is if I ask you to do a flash culture. So on that same page, you need to be looking for this box which says flash culture, and you can read this to you, and then it always has a question in blue, 1 or 2 questions in blue about what it's asked you, and it wants you to respond. So when you click on that, you can respond in the box and submit your answer. Again, we've got online grammar practice. So we have vocabulary practice, we have grammar practice, where you can check your understanding of what you're learning. I will ask you to do that. The other thing with grammar is not just a practice, but a grammar tutor. This is kind of like a workbook. We would used to have these as a grammar tutor book and a vocab book as well. And so we used to do this a lot in class when I first started teaching. So I'm very familiar with this. You probably aren't. But if this gets assigned to you, this is where you do it. It usually guides you through in English first, and then it shows you how that relates to the French language with lots of questions, and you can check your answers as you go. Okay, so again, questions. In the middle, then after that, you have application, so a little bit more practice, maybe with some irregularities here to just take it a little bit further, but all of the optional links, not optional, the interactive links are the same. In the middle of the book, there's always a bit on culture, which we love, so I get you to do that. But again, you can respond. If you're not doing it in a classroom, you can respond at home like that, etc. Okay, one of the other things that you might see is I might assign you something, so you should check the assignments. I've never done that before, so this will be something new for me as well. And if you click on student resources, one of the things that we will be using will be this cahier de vocabulaire et grammaire. So this is a cahier, is a workbook. So vocab grammar workbook, you can click right here and it actually downloads it for you instead of being interactive. So I would save this, or I might have this saved into the class Google Drive for you, but just so you know where to find it for yourself. Okay, all of these are here for you to use. And so let me know if you're having any questions on it. But hopefully you found that this how-to a little useful for knowing how to complete or where to go to access those different parts of the textbook. Okay, merci, au revoir.